All right, we're here at Content Marketing World 2016 on the last day, and Mark Hamill is speaking later this afternoon, so I'm super excited about that. But I'm here with Ira Apfel, right?
Yes, that's right.
Awesome. And you are the Director of Communications for an association, right? Could you tell us about the company?
Sure. I'm Director of Communications for Association for Financial Professionals. We're based in Bethesda, Maryland, right outside of D.C. And our members are 16,000 corporate treasury and finance executives worldwide. Our mission is to be the resource and, for the finance executive community worldwide. And so what that means is every organization, whether it's a Fortune 100 company or your house of worship, has a corporate treasurer or someone who does kind of the short-term finance work, such as payroll, accounts payable, accounts receivable. They are our core members. And we also have finance folks as well, chief financial officers, financial planning and analysis professionals. And they're not personal financial planners. They are business budgeters and forecasters. So we offer advocacy, training, certification for them, and we have our own very large trade show, which is coming up in Orlando in October. AFP's annual conference, the largest event in Treasury and Finance. And what I do for them is I edit the magazine, I edit several newsletters, and help push out our content on social media.
So it sounds like you probably have a diverse background because you are doing so many things that you wouldn't, typically see a communications director doing.
Yeah, I started off after college as a sports writer. I was a sports writer for a daily newspaper outside of Philadelphia, covering high school and college sports in Philly, and that's really what I wanted to do. But it's a particularly back in the 90s, it's a tough job. It was 3 hard deadlines a night, and pretty draining. 5 p.m. to 1 a.m. in the morning. It was not easy to do. So I kind of switched to B2B for-profit newsletters, and that was actually proved to be pretty good training for content marketing, because you got to, as a newsletter editor and reporter, you had to kind of cut to the chase with very small bites of content, 500-word articles, and what does it mean for the customer? Because newsletters were easy to kind of start up, and they were also easy to take down. So it had to be really relevant information. Subscribers paid a lot of money for them because they were B2B, and you really got close to the customer, or else you were really lost and you would see it in your subscriptions.
Yeah. And so that kind of led to working with the association and then reaching a group of people who typically aren't on social media, right? Or at least from a business perspective, maybe LinkedIn,
Mm-hmm.
but they're not, and more private, right?
Yeah, we're a private nonprofit. That's right.
But no, I mean like the individuals themselves.
Oh,
they're
yeah.
very private people, right?
Sure.
They're the stuff that they're collecting all day is usually things that are corporate secrets, right? The information, the amount of money we have, the types of business we use, all this stuff is kept secret. And so you have to have an association that can bring them together and then allow them to start to let loose and learn and grow and see what's going on. And then so they can go back out and, kick butt in the organizations.
That's right. We have our typical member is quite, I would say buttoned down and by the numbers, by the books. Many of them have accounting backgrounds, and there's a huge compliance regulatory side to accounting. So they very much are about keeping the numbers to themselves. They're very much in their cubicles, kind of all day, looking at computer screens, at Excel spreadsheets. So when they get to our trade show, our annual conference, many of them, if they're there for the first time, are stunned that there's 6,500 of them worldwide. They didn't know there was actually a community of treasurers.
Yeah.
So they're very excited about that, and they want to learn from each other. And it's interesting. You go to some of the educational sessions at our annual conference, and people will be talking about giving case studies about what they've implemented. For example, a new treasury management system to track money on a daily basis, and they won't even have an amazing result. Here at Content Marketing World, some of these folks have amazing results with their case studies. But for our members, it's just knowing that other people out there are struggling with the same issues. And it's almost like, they're just commiserating. And so when I'm writing or, I'm soliciting articles, it's not necessarily from a vendor. It's not necessarily from a consultant or an expert. I try very hard to get our members or just corporate practitioners writing, so they're not professional writers, and sometimes they don't have that big wow end result yet, but everyone can identify with a problem that they were struggling with, for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. In any stage of implementing a system or a structure or a process, there's things to be learned. And so even if you're not at the end, and I think a lot of practitioners, they're waiting to tell their story for the happy ending. But in any hero's journey, there's points along the way where there's a great story to tell.
Right.
And it's not always at the end. And there's always a chapter 1 and a chapter 2. And so start writing those chapters and sharing those with other people, because you will help somebody else that's in that stage, nervous as all get out, and starting to move that way by seeing that there are other people doing this, and even helping them with those pitfalls early on the way.
That's right. And one of the things I try to do, and I learned this from my time as a reporter, I like to ask folks specifically, what lessons did you learn along the way? What, if you could go back and do it again, what would you do differently? If you're giving advice to a peer who's going through the same or about to go through the same ordeal, for lack of a better word, what would you tell him or her to avoid? And that elicits a lot of good advice and a lot of, gosh, I wish I did this differently. And that's as valuable as a huge number, a big result, because actually, if you think about it, you could have a great result for your case study, but it might not necessarily translate to your organization. Your organization might be a lot larger than mine, different industry. So it's, in a way, the results they're kind of, they can't really match up, but a lot of the struggles, they're very universal, for sure.
Yeah, I mean, like when Marriott gets up here, it's hard for me to imagine me being in Marriott's shoes with the largest hotel chain and all this, stuff, and you're just like, and it's good to see that they win and stuff like that, but it's when the smaller guys get up there and they say, here's how I won, right? When Marcus Sheridan gets up and talks about river pools and spas, I can get that, right? Very similar revenue model, very, in the end, and seeing that he tried, he worked hard, it worked. Those are the stories that we just don't hear enough of.
Yeah, and what I've noticed here is it's a lot of B2C, and we're obviously B2B. So, but I keep on having to remind myself at Content Marketing World, don't use the fact that we're essentially a B2B as an excuse to not do what is everyone should do, which is get close to the customer, or in our case, the member, and really understand what their problems are and their challenges are. And so I hear some people kind of scratching their heads saying, what are our customers doing? And we're fortunate because we have a very good idea of what they do and what their everyday challenges and struggles are. So in one sense, we're kind of unique and at a disadvantage here because we're this small nonprofit B2B, but another sense, we're at a real advantage because we know our folks really well.
Absolutely. And you have a saturation, right? You have a lot of people in the industry compared to on a B2C. It's like, if you're a Cleveland, cafe or something like that, there's a few million people you got to reach, and the demographics, the data, the things that you would be able to, turn on besides location are all over the place. It wouldn't matter that it's a mom or a, financial services worker. With you guys, you have so much great data. You can pinpoint and provide far more value because you know more about, and you're not just randomly throwing articles out.
Yeah, it definitely helps. It helps inform everyone from myself to my team to the subject matter experts who used to be corporate practitioners themselves, and I spend a lot of time talking with our subject matter experts, saying, "Hey, what are you hearing from your peers who are still in the industry? What should I be writing on?" A lot of times, I'll get a story pitch from someone, and I'll run it past the subject matter expert and say, Does this sound like a good story to you? Would you read it? Do you think our members would really read it? I've been in at AFP now for 7 years, so I have a pretty good idea, but sometimes I just want to confirm. And it definitely helps when you can just kind of walk over to an SME and say, this is past the smell test, and he'll say, nah, this is kind of boring. And then that empowers me to go back to even a member and say, you need to reframe your pitch, or to an outside agency. Sorry, it's just not resonating, and our members wouldn't like it. And the last thing we want to do is bore members and give them content they don't care about.
Yeah, exactly. Everything's got to be valuable. And so if it's not, even if it costs you money, it's not valuable unless the other person wants it on the other end.
Yep.
So tell me a little bit more about some of the marketing efforts and the content marketing efforts you guys are doing inside.
Yeah, it's been interesting. So I didn't really, I don't think I'd even heard of the term content marketing 2 years ago. And now we just rolled out our the chief content officer, who's here, and the managing director of marketing from AFP. They're both here with me. They just rolled out our content marketing strategy about a week or so ago. We are doing just everything, and that's actually a bit of a challenge and almost a problem. We are doing campaigns on LinkedIn, Facebook, Twitter. We're ramping up Snapchat. I just attended a great session yesterday on Snapchat, which was a real aha moment for me. Like, oh, now I know how to make Snapchat work for our members. And we are starting up our own podcast. Which I'm hosting, and so I'm kind of here taking notes from you, Jeff, because I'm seeing how the master does it. And we are also shooting video in our offices. We're shooting video at our annual conference. Even we're shooting when I'm at a site visit, or my editorial manager who reports to me is at a reporting from another conference. He's shooting video of himself giving wrap-ups and posting it right away to Facebook or something. So we're doing a ton of stuff. And if there's one thing I learned from the conference here today and yesterday, it's you have to be more purposeful. Even a small organization like AFP can just do a ton of stuff. Does it resonate? Is the right channel? Are we getting results? So we have to be much more thoughtful about what we do. We're doing everything, and I wouldn't say it's easy to do, but there's not a whole lot of friction to getting stuff up and running for sure.
Today, real time is the only time that counts. To stay relevant, you have to stay ahead. Your customers want the right information, right now, wherever they are. So how do you meet the demands of today's customers? By marketing in context. Context accounts for a customer's interaction with your brand. So each touch builds on the next, creating more meaningful experiences for your customers. At Sitecore, we call this context marketing. To do it well, you need marketing technology that has three things: contextual intelligence, content management, and omni-channel automation. Contextual intelligence gives you the information you need about your consumers, so the content you manage is more relevant and is automatically delivered wherever your customers are. The Sitecore Experience platform was built for context marketing, so you can create a more personalized customer experience. Demand more from your marketing technology. Demand more from marketing. Own the experience. Sitecore.
It's funny. I was in church planning movement for a while, and there's this guy named Ed Stetzer who is at Lifeway, and they're a big conglomerate and part of the Southern Baptist movement. And he said when he was at a church that they wanted to mail out 10,000 direct mail campaigns to let him know that the new church was here and here was the seminar that they were doing and drive. And he said that was the biggest mistake he's made, because if you think of, if I send out 10,000 of these things and we're doing a series on this and 250 people show up with this problem, do we have the staff to handle it? Right? Mm-hmm. Can we? And that's what happened. right?
Right.
Tons of people show up, and all of a sudden they're disappointing a lot of people because they were hoping 10 people would show up. And really, it was very successful. And so, when content marketers get out there and they get so excited and they jump on everything and like, do. What would happen if it all worked? Right?
Right.
And we're doing this. We're throwing out all this stuff because we have doubts, right? And we're saying, well, Twitter's not going to work. It doesn't do anything. And Facebook, we'll get a couple here and a couple here and a couple here. And it's like fishing poles, right? We're just throwing all these fishing poles out. What happens if you catch a fish on all of them at the same time?
Right.
And that's why Joe always pushes, like, find that one area, aim at it. You can throw ancillary pieces off in all these other areas, but make sure that you're focused in on that one. And so that's why I really liked what you're saying about that event, right? And that event is your one. It's the big content marketing effort you're already doing. And so now in the magazine, in those pieces, those are all content marketing. And it's getting those digital things to jive with it. So yeah, testing and feeling things out.
And what we're learning is that LinkedIn works well for our particular audience. Maybe doesn't work well for yours. You said earlier, treasury and finance folks are private people. And you're right, particularly on Twitter, it's hard to find them. We have had a little bit of success on Twitter, but it's just not where they're at. But LinkedIn, we have a couple of LinkedIn groups. I'm posting there. Our CEO posts, and blogs there, and that's where we have a lot of success because it's B2B.
Exactly.
And you go to LinkedIn for professional purposes, and they respond to our advertising there, and we've gotten memberships through LinkedIn, and we've gotten our annual conference signups through there. So that's what's really working for us. We're kind of trying to figure out how to make Facebook work. It's been great for finding people at the top of the sales funnel, people who never even heard of us, people abroad who are treasury and finance executives who've never even heard of AFP. And the challenge is then how do you convert them into customers and members, because they're not going to fly from India or Pakistan to our annual conference, let's be honest. So what do we offer them? And how much time and effort should we be putting into Facebook? As great as it is and interesting as and fun as it is, we're still trying to figure that out.
Yeah, exactly. Because it's not just where they're at, because everybody's on Facebook. Like
Right.
The world is on Facebook every day.
Right.
Why are they there? If they're there because they want to share photos with their neighbors, their friends, and their family, and talk about, guess what? They don't want your message isn't welcome there. You're an ad they want to fast forward through on TV, right? But if they're there and they hook up with their marketing friends and they post like, hey, I like content marketing, and hey, I like these, or whatever those, groups are, they're part of them.
Yep.
That's what I like about Facebook is you can segment in your ads. Now you can reach them with their intent because of the things that they're doing on there.
It's been helpful for us because when we're trying to identify them, we can identify, we can search by job title. And a couple of other interests like cybersecurity. Our members, not surprisingly, they're very scared about their companies being hacked. So if you live in India and you actually put down in your Facebook profile that you are a treasurer and you have an interest in electronic payments or cybersecurity, we've identified you. And so it's been very good, the targeted efforts. It's been very helpful. But again, it's kind of figure out, okay, we're there. We got a lot of friends and followers on Facebook. What do we do with them?
Exactly.
And that's a challenge, particularly for me, because I was the one who kind of was really pushing for us to get on Facebook. And now it's like, well, what do you do with it?
Yeah.
So what do you do with it? So.
Exactly. So what about the magazine? What are you guys doing with that?
Well, the magazine is published 10 times a year, and I'm the editor-in-chief of it. It's called Exchange. It's exchange of ideas, and also, I guess, it's a play on, a financial exchange as well. It covers every issue or topic in finance that you can think of: foreign currency hedging, corporate treasury, regulatory risk, current events like Brexit. That had a huge impact, or will have a huge impact on our members. Cash flow forecast, anything that you can think of. And what I try to do is I try and get as many articles as possible written by corporate practitioners, so they are not professional writers. And so we're always trying to pitch to our membership, to maybe speakers at our annual conference who are not professional writers, but who are actual treasurers or CFOs, and saying, hey, would you like to write an article? would you like to turn your presentation at our annual conference into an article? I'll help you. And they've been pretty receptive. And sometimes the writing's pretty good, considering that's not their job. And sometimes it needs a good heavy edit, but that's okay. But the point is, it's peer-to-peer. And we're kind of, the magazine's almost, it's just kind of an intermediary. And they'll be writing about best practices in payments or best practices in forecasting or budgeting. And they'll talk about what their struggles are. And because it's kind of a member magazine, they can be pretty candid. They're not going to obviously release all their financial information. But they can talk about a great deal of what their pain points are. And, it's been a challenge to get them to, I would say, write more recently. But by and large, it's been quite enjoyable. And it's really helped me kind of learn what our members like and don't like.
Awesome. And then finally, what about the podcast? What are you guys doing there? Because I'd love to hear more.
So there, again, it's trying to interview as many of our peers as possible. Everybody from people from the board who are practitioners to some of our SMEs to speakers and writers who have written for the magazine. I'll just say, hey, want to go on the podcast? Check it out. And I'll just interview you over the phone, by Skype usually. Sometimes I try and do it in the office if they're around, and just ask them, hey, what's up? What's the topic? What are you hearing? Why should we care? And the genesis for the podcast was that, I found research that showed, I think 50 million Americans now listen to a podcast regularly. And I just thought, hey, we want to be able to reach our members everywhere, not just at the office, not just with a magazine that lands on their desk once a month. Why don't we reach them in their car, in their commute? Why can't they hear from their peers when they are just on the train to work? And so, I got the go ahead to do it. And it's been working out really well so far.
Awesome. Yeah, it's another area. It's like with the B2C, you can't guarantee a commute, right? Or what the kind of commute it is. But in B2B, you usually have 20 minutes, right?
Sure.
of time in there. And so that's a good way to reach them. It's usually the education level, right? They all have the device. They all have the headphones or the plug in their car now. It's just teaching them about it and how to get it.
Yeah, it's about a 10 or 15 minute interview. Sometimes they go a little bit longer. And again, it's just, it's almost like an interview for an article, but it's just not an article. And then what I'll do is I'll also transcribe the interview and turn that into an article. So I'm repurposing the content, and we can put that in the magazine, we can put it on our website, we can put it out as a LinkedIn post. So we're getting a lot of mileage out of these interviews. It's been pretty helpful for us.
Awesome. Well, I hope you guys have some awesome success. And if you have any questions, please let me know, because I enjoy talking to other podcasters and watching them get started, especially in other industries when people are so scared, right? They're like, no one's ever going to listen to a show here. It's like, no, they will.
Yeah.
They will. They watch Netflix, right? They will. So thanks for your time today, and I hope you guys have a great event in October.
Thank you so much.
There are so many marketing tools to choose from these days. More than 3,500 the last time we checked. If you're overwhelmed and confused, you're not alone. With so many options, marketers are having a difficult time trying to select which tools will meet their team's unique needs. So why do the top content marketing teams choose DVHQ? It's because of our unique focus. Let me explain. The typical content marketing process looks something like this. You start with a defined strategy, then you ideate and brainstorm with your team. Create a plan of attack, produce the content, optimize it, then publish and promote the content, and finally, review the analytics to see how your content performed. As you may know, most marketing software tools are built to support the back half of this process. There are countless CMS platforms, email marketing tools, marketing automation systems, social publishing tools, analytics suites, etc. The list goes on and on. But here's the thing. The back half of the process is not where companies are really struggling. What marketing teams are really struggling with is the upfront part of the process, the strategy, the ideation, planning, workflow, and collaboration during the content production process. Sound familiar? If you don't get your upfront strategy and planning right, the odds of consistently publishing great content is, well, not very good. So these upfront areas are where we focus 100%. We don't want to reinvent wheels or be a jack of all trades, master of none type of content marketing solution. DiviHQ was on a mission to build a content marketing platform that makes it incredibly easy for you to plan and produce high quality content more efficiently. This approach then gives you the freedom to integrate and connect DiviHQ to your preferred downstream tools. So, if you're looking for help with strategy, ideation, planning, and collaboration, then we're the solution for you.